Um, this is an area where Hillary Clinton carried by 14 points. In New Jersey's leading Democrats, including Booker, who've been spending much of the time out of the state preparing for a widely expected presidential bid, are pleading voters to rally behind Menendez. The senator's campaign has sought to highlight the stakes for broadcasting a commercial portraying, again, vote for who again is a vote for Trump, which is going to be a pretty tough for them to do because he's just such a monarch guy. But still, I mean, with these people, having these people in this situation, like, why do we have Bob Menendez? Why is Bob Menendez in this situation? Like, if he just, if only he just lost that corruption trial. I mean, I hate to be like that, but like, it just comes to a point where you're like, enough is enough. Like, Bob, like, you gotta know, you've been in politics at least since 1972. Like, you need to really run again. When it comes to that, like, come on, like we've been in an area where it's just like, okay, enough is enough. Like, you've had your experience. I mean, it's time to let other people take the share. And I mean, it just, again, the fact that the Democratic Party is supporting him is, again, speaks to them, and the fact that he is in this situation. All right, we're now going to move on to the midterm update. Let's get it going. All right, so first, red flags for the GOP and the House all around, really, as we enter the home stretch on just completed New York Times live polls in the New Jersey district for Representative Leonard Lance carries ominous news for Republicans and him and other Republicans in high-income districts. Lance, who is in his fifth term, is winning only 39% of the vote against Tom Malinowski, the Democratic challenger. That's a remarkably low number for an incumbent this late in the campaign. And we're going to have someone actually works on the Malinowski campaign, Ron Ponde, come in on election day to talk about that. He's going to be checking in about how his candidate doing. It's not difficult to see why Lance is struggling, though. Majority of the district disapproves of Trump, and the majority also prefers Democrats to take control of Congress. That's a familiar, if discomforting, tune for suburban Republicans across the country. So, yeah, these were red flags for... And there are other, red flags for the House and lesser-known races. The party has poured millions of dollars into over a period of months on some of the hardest-fought races in the most competitive districts. But what worries GOP strategists and the Lights Democrats are the races have not gotten so much money or attention. A pair of polls, one public, one private, came out this week in two such districts. A Republican group received a survey from Illinois showing that Representative Randy Holdgren, the incumbent, was tied with his Democratic challenger, Lauren Underwood, in a Chicago district that Trump carried by 4 points in 2016. So, they're tied. They're catching up. It's a suburban area of Chicago, an exurban area, actually, and that makes sense to see. It's interesting to see how this kind of works, and, it's going to be pretty interesting. It's like all these high-income districts, they seem to be the tough spot, like the big, fat GOP top spot, let's just say. So even more alarming for Republicans, a survey commissioned by the Pennsylvania ABC affiliate found that Representative Mike Kelly narrowly trailed his Democratic opponent, Ron DeNicola, in an area, a seat that is heavily pro-Trump. Both incumbents may survive, but these sort of numbers this late in the campaign are the political equivalent of flashing red lights for the GOP. At the outset of this election, few in either party that thought that Representative Steve King of Iowa was in any political peril. But the thing is, Steve King has been acting very white nationalist and racist lately, and most Americans, thank God, tend not to like that. And so J.D. Schultz, his opponent, is getting very close. That's going to be something very interesting to stay tuned in on that situation. President Trump is getting ahead of possible midterm loss from the unsettled message to Republicans, saying, quote, "It wasn't me." A day after Paul Ryan, a lame duck House Speaker, gently questioned the constitutionality of Trump's proposed executive order banning birthright citizenship, and of course, everything Paul Ryan does in the direction of Trump is just gently. So it's like, just let's be gently. He kind of escalated Trump. He did escalated hostilities by a lot, saying Paul Ryan should be focusing on holding the majority rather than giving his opinions on birthright citizenship, something he knows nothing about. Trump tweeted, I'm willing to bet Paul Ryan knows about 10 times more than Trump on birthright citizenship because just Trump doesn't know anything. He just doesn't care. He suggested a new Republican majority after Ryan was gone would solve immigration issues. If we have a new Republican majority that's like a Tea Party over again, this country's going to become Brazil in a few years. Like, it's just going to be that bad. Similar flare-ups, but we're not going to have, most likely, I don't want to eat my words 5 days from now, most likely not going to have, thank God, a Republican majority, at least in the House. Anyway, so similar flare-ups were common in 2016 when the presidential election looked lost, perhaps betraying Trump's foremost political creed. The buck stops far, far away from Donald Trump, at least. Joe Crowley is who we're going to be talking about. Now, remember his name? Have you heard of him? Oh, wait, yeah, you have. When we last checked on him, he had just thrown his support behind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the political upstart who dethroned him in the Democratic Party in a completely fair election, a completely free and fair election. But Crowley remains on the ballot, because of course he does, on 2 third-party lines, including the Working Families Party, and could still affect Ocasio-Cortez's race on Election Day, which is ridiculous. There's new flyers circulating online that urges voters to support Crowley, calling him the best qualified candidate, and explaining that because of low voter turnout in the primary, he came up a little short. The source of the flyer is not known, but of course Crowley's office has disavowed any connection. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez campaign says it does not suspect his hand in it. So yeah, of course, at least she's being pretty chill about this, and so I'm not going to go all up and down yet. But of course, back in July, we talked about this with Libby Watson. I remember the former Senator Joe Lieberman wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal urging voters to support Mr. Crowley in the general election. And Ruben Diaz Sr., a New York City councilman who represents the South Bronx, did the same in Bronx Chronicle in September. So of course, you can go F off, pretty much, is what I say, to those people who are trying to overturn the results of an election. That's like what you're trying to do. So yeah, to whoever it is, knock it off. Focus on electing Democrats and Republican seats. I moved on, so should everyone else. Like, this guy's probably he's a lobbyist in the private sector. It's not going to be very surprising, and it's pretty crazy. For all the dismissals about a shadow campaign for his House seat, Joe Crowley has evidently not forsaken a future in politics. His Joe for NY is the new name of his state campaign committee, which is hosts a fundraiser on Monday in Manhattan. And should be watching very closely, at least, what he does with that money, because I just really do not trust him to, quote-unquote, knock it off. So talking about John Tester recently, he's back in the news again. He has won 2 Senate elections without clearing 50% of the vote. One big reason, a libertarian on the ballot. It presumably hurts the Republican more than Tester, who is a Democrat. In both of his runs, Tester's margin of victory has been smaller than the vote total for the third-party candidate. The Libertarian candidate this year, Rick Breckenridge, endorsed Matt Rosendale, the Republican nominee and state auditor. Rick Breckenridge has presumably dropped. He is out now, but the effects of this aren't entirely clear because early voting is well underway and Breckenridge still remains on the ballot, so we don't know who's going to do what. But make no mistake, it's pretty good news for Rosendale, whose campaign has peaked top-level Republican interest in this in the recent weeks with the state Trump carried by 20 points. So yeah, Trump probably is going to go out there if he hasn't been already. I don't even know, because he's just literally a political rallier now, because that's the only thing he can really do well. He is very good at rallying things politically. All right, that's it for our midterm update. We're now going to turn on to a very satisfying clip, and let's see how much. All right, we are pretty good with that. Let's see what we got here. We got a great clip for you here today. What I'm going to play for you is Cenk Uygur, of course, of the Young Turks, progressive icon. And he is going to be talking in the National Press Club, and you're going to hear a woman who's a Bloomberg reporter talking to him, and you're going to hear his response to the situation. I think it's all very interesting, and I'm going to play it here for you today.
Welcome to Washington, by the way, and say Washington is toxic.
Yes.
And walk out of this room unharmed?
For now, yes.
Well, let me, as president of the National Press Club, you've taken a lot of swings at the media. I've been a reporter, an editor.
And we're going to do this, we're just going to pause it throughout. Like, what I really love here is she's like, you've been taking a lot of swings at the media. Like, again, this same kind of false equivalency here, just trying to, like, compare him to Trump. Like, she acting like he hates media when he literally runs a media company. He supports journalism. He has journalists like Ken Klepstein, TYT Investigates, great reporter, breaking like stories no one talks about every other day, it feels like. And yeah, so he is. You need to stop with that. Like, it's ridiculous.
Worked in journalism. I've been a journalist for almost 25 years, and I got to say that all of the reporters and editors I know work so hard to get it right and work so hard. I work for Bloomberg, and objectivity, not false equivalence, which you have called out here, but objectivity is incredibly important. It is incredibly important to have, to me personally, to have a fair and unbiased standard of reporting, right? And I understand that everybody has an opinion, and you're welcome, obviously, to it. And we welcome you here to state your opinion. But I know you called out Wolf Blitzer at one point as not having a thought. But when Wolf Blitzer was here accepting an award 2 years ago, every single person who came and spoke about him said he was the hardest working man at CNN, that he was such a hardworking reporter. So I just want to recognize here that the reporters and editors who are working for newspapers and
like, pretty much what she's pretty much advocating here is when she takes forever to get to her point, it's like the kind of like both sideism, which is just like not important, like at all. It's not what journalism is really supposed to be about. Like, you're supposed to be about having like different, more neutral perspective. Like, you're supposed to be about like not neutral perspectives, not neutrality, but objective. Like, I think it's objectivity. But you're supposed to like. Pretty much the definition, like, what journalists should be doing is, like, not just saying, like, this side said this and this side said that. Like, just, like, saying the way it actually is. Like, if it's the truth, it's the truth. And what we're going to change here is Janky responds. Like, he actually goes a little further. Doesn't really, like, respond to her question, which was a little weird. It's pretty much, like, acknowledge that journalists work hard. Because they really do. And they care. Can you please acknowledge that? Thank you. Like, that was pretty much her entire, like, shtick there. And he was like, I'm just going to go in my own direction here.
TV, all of which are also digital now, right? They work really hard. They're not in it for the money.
Yep. Yeah, Andrea.
They work hard, and they work hard to get it right.
Okay, so let me agree and disagree. So, do they work hard? Of course, I don't begrudge them that. No, nowhere in my speech did I say they were lazy.
I think you did.
No, I think I said they were wrong. That's different than lazy. And so, Wolf Blitzer, his problem isn't whether he works hard or doesn't work hard. His problem is he does have a perspective, and he might not even know it. His perspective is the status quo is awesome. So Hillary Clinton is acceptable, Jeb Bush is acceptable, Bernie Sanders is not acceptable, Donald Trump is not acceptable.
And that's the part of the whole meeting. Like, you don't have to speculate about it. Like, it's just like it's present. It's so personally and like absolutely present. Andrea Edney, by the way, is the news editor at Bloomberg News. She's the president of the National Press Club, if you were wondering. That's the woman who's like asking the questions, and here's what she said here that really annoys me.
And so it oozes out of every broadcast.
I don't want to speculate on his perspective.
No, you don't.
Like, she's like, his perspective is very, like, that's the thing you don't understand. Like, his perspective is super duper clear. Like, everyone can see it. Like, who's actually looking at the situation, like, they can see it. Like, the reason why they're against Trump, the reason why they're against Bernie Sanders in just the exact same way. You talk about false equivalence. Like, that's an equivalence they create just subjectively because of their fear of both of them and the status quo. Like, and that has nothing to do with whether he's, like, the most hardworking man ever. But it's, either way, won't change that. And still, like, he looks like I don't care how hard he works, he looks like a robot on air who just sits there, like, gets propped up in a stool, like reads the teleprompter and then gets shoved under the desk at night and just like has no legs and is just doing that. Like he seems like very like his style just